Hey folks, Andy here from Andy McSweeney Photography and Photo Tour Bruges. Alright, well if you saw my last video gang, you would have seen how it was all about photo feedback, in the sense of me giving some feedback on the photos you guys sent in. So I'll put a link in the description to that video if you're curious about more. It was all based around my big free photo walk that I hold every spring under Photo Walk Bruges. There's something a little more about that in the video before that. But gang, we're not here to talk photo walks. We're actually here to talk feedback, because I think it's a pretty critical part of the creative process. And it's certainly something that I come across as being a creative, as, you know, being an instructor and guide as Photo Tour Bruges. When we're out there, we're taking some photos and I'm giving you my thoughts. And frankly, I find it's really just critical, like I say, to the creative process to have feedback in your life. So for this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about feedback, but you know, instead of me critiquing your photos or you critiquing mine, I'm going to try something a little different here. I recently got some feedback on my own photography that I'm going to share out with you. I entered a photography competition held by Magnum Photography and Lensculture, two fine organizations who do some good for the photo community. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But gang, as I say, I joined one of their competitions. Very rare that I do so. I actually don't really have the, most crazy feelings for photography competitions. I think some of them can be, well, I don't know, a little bit biased to the taste of the judges, a little bit money grabby in the sense that, they ask for a fair bit and don't give you much back. And just generally, for my creative space right now, and actually for quite a while now, which I'll talk about in another session, I'm just kind of enjoying being in my creative bubble, where I'm not too worried about feedback. Especially the last couple of years, I really feel like I've just reached a place where my photography is starting to be the kind of photos that I want to express, and they're rolling out in a way I find work. It's not that I don't like feedback, but actually I think it's just been nice to enjoy not worrying too much about feedback, except from the occasional trusted source. But as I said, gang, I entered a photography competition, the Magnum Photo Awards, to be precise. And, well, part of what interested me wasn't just the possible, fame, glory, cash that was up on grabs. It was actually just the fact that with every submission you get feedback. They'll actually tell you something about their images. It's a blind critique, so you don't know who's giving it, and they don't know whose photos they are. But actually, gang, when Magnum and Lensculture are holding something, like I'll talk about, they're two pretty good organizations as far as the photography goes. So I figured, what the hell, let's take a risk. Signed up, paid my cash, threw up my photos, shared them here and there, but more than anything else, just sat patiently to hear some news. And well, that came in recently. So I'm going to share it with you guys today. I want you to see a little bit, what goes on backstage in my world. That's one side of things. Also, who knows? Maybe this will help your photography. Some of these words are kind of universal when you, get into the feedback side of things. They are a bit specific to me in the works I put forward, but who knows? So I guess without further ado, why don't we switch over to the computer cam? That way I can show you what's going on the desktop. We can run through the photos and these fine groups, and well, I'll give you my thoughts when we get back after that. All right, let's do this. All right, gang. So let's settle in and take a look at things. Well, as I mentioned, before I show you the photos that I submitted and the feedback I got there, why don't we look at the people who are organizing this thing? Because at the end of the day, that's one of the things that caught my attention. And certainly if you're going to be reaching out for feedback, I think it's pretty critical that there's some credibility, some trust, some, just feelings of confidence from the group or individuals you're going to be getting feedback from. In this case, it is called the Magnum Photography Awards after all. So Magnum Photos is pretty directly involved. If you don't know them, I'm going to put a couple links in the notes so I don't have to babble on for 2 hours just about them. Because frankly, gang, I could. With Magnum Photos, you're talking about one of the very first photography cooperatives, or at least one of the longest lasting legendary ones. They were founded in 1947 by Henri Cartier-Bresson, Robert Capa, and quite a few other prominent photography fellas, either legends or should have been legends, mostly legends. And well, Magnum does some really good stuff. But more importantly, where they've gone with their vision, with their sort of ethos of discovering the world and presenting it in a certain way. It's not a biased way, but it does have a certain visual signature that kind of resonates throughout the work. And it may be a weird word for some of you, but it's called quality. Magnum has quality, serious quality. They have it through the ages. They have it now, and judging by the look of their website and the way they're adapting towards the future by not just pushing stock photography down my throat, you can see they're definitely taking it beyond just here's a bunch of images you buying or not. There's stories, there's narratives. There are, just a lot of good things going on here. And I certainly feel that they're engaging the photographic community beyond just saying, hey, hope you like this, buy a photo. So Magnum Photos, I mean, for your cred, for your history, you already had my money there, guys. But when I pop over to your website to get this video ready and see how you've taken your vision and your website to a new place, pretty impressive. You can see over there, it's still fairly recent too. Welcome to Magnum Photos' new site, and a good site it is. So, Magnum Photos, if you're holding a contest, if you're offering up some feedback as part of it, you have my vote. Shut up and take my money. Next to that, gang, we have Lensculture. That's over at lensculture.com. They've been around not quite as long as Magnum. They've been around for about a decade now, according to their website. I've only gotten to know them peripherally over the last couple of years, but I dived in a little bit deeper for this competition, as you can imagine, because they were co-hosting the thing. They're the ones who've been hosting the photos on their site, dealing with that side of things. And, well, frankly, I mean, before we even go into how they handle the competition, I'm liking what I'm seeing over here on Lensculture. I can recommend them. You know, they're not paying me for any of this. I didn't win the competition anyway, so there's no super secret bias here. There's no deals being made backstage. So, gang, if I'm recommending this, if I'm feeling that they're engaging the photo community, telling some interesting stories from interviews like The Street Is Not a Studio, to some Bruce Gilden work, to all kinds of other things that definitely show a spread and, engagement with photography as a medium and a community. Well, again, shut up and take my money as far as it goes with your competition. Oh, that's a nice little one, by the way. If you're looking on the screen, Belgopolis by Paul de Haes. He's a Belgian photographer who's doing some cool stuff. But not to get distracted, gang. All I'll say about Lensculture is you land there, you'll get distracted, and it's a good thing unless you're doing one of these feedback videos. So I won't get too distracted there, but I do want to say at some point or another, get over to lensculture.com, get over to magnumphotos.com. They are both doing pretty fine things, and when it comes to credibility for this feedback, for this competition, I'm feeling pretty good about things. All right. Let's talk about my photos and my submission and all that sort of thing. So we're backstage on the Lensculture website. Like I said, they were hosting it. You can see just, for proof, this is actually what I submitted. It's a little tricky to get to the front end gallery from here. I'll see if I can figure that out and put a link in the description or something. But gang, you can see there's 7, I think, pretty fine photos over there. And why don't we take a look at them so you can see which photos I put in there, and then we'll break into the feedback that I received. All right. Image 1, CompuMonk. Image 2, Market Chatter. Image 3, Kings Visit Belgium. Image 4, Catch the Cross of Cultures. Image 5, Reach. Image 6, Funeral Prayers for Rinpoche. Image 7, A Dog and His Neighbor. Okay, those are the entries, gang. If it's all right with you guys, I'm just going to flip over to Lightroom. That way we can just move around a little bit easier. And, when I start reading out the feedback, I can jump to those photos just a little bit more speedy and quick. So we'll give you the full view. There's those 7 shots. 7 of my children out there in the wild. Well, why don't I jump into the feedback? Now, excuse me if I stutter a little bit with this. Some of the syntax is just a little bit off, or at least the punctuation. So I'll do my best to read this word for word, gang. Here it is. This is the feedback I got from the photos that I submitted to the Magnum Photography Awards 2016. Dear Andy, thank you for your fascinating submission. I can see you have a fascination for street crowds, except for the image about the dog. About the images, my favorite is image reach. I think you exceeded very well in composition, lining, and subject. It is a very strong, intense, and overwhelming image, especially due to the fact that all the faces are turned upwards and nobody is taking notice of you. Well done. First, I think you have a good photographer's eye in general. You have the ability of finding captivating images and also a good sense of composition and light. The pictures are well exposed and show good technical skills. I also like market chatter in the way that you choose your positioning. It works well, showing a kind of common and everyday life situation. Also, Catch the Cross of Cultures is a fascinating image. I like the eye, which is slightly overlooking the cell phone. I can't get hold on if he is blinking at the camera or only looking at the phone. However, the image King's Visit in Bruges is more a general image, technically spoken less challenging. I am not drawn into the image as I am with the others. It seems more like an average image, although we're looking at the King of Belgium. I think you could have made a lot of difference with positioning in another, more exciting way. If we could have seen some expression on his face, for example. The same fact with the image Funeral Prayers. I personally think you could have taken much more out of it if you would have chosen your positioning in a different way. I think you could back up a tiny bit and compose with a bit more room around the person involved, or show us what they were looking at. I am not so much triggered with this image as I am with the others. Maybe this is also due to the fact that no one is communicating with the camera. As I like this in image reach, it is irritating or distracting a bit on this image. The image, the dog and his neighbor, is greatly shot. It is perfect in its stillness. This is enforced by the quietly set up composition. The rectangular lines in the image work very well. The colors seem a bit too harsh. Maybe you could try to back up a little bit on this. The blue is just a little bit too blue, and therefore getting too much attention in the image in its whole. I wish you all the luck with your work, and I hope you will continue and would like to see the next steps in it. Good luck! And that's the feedback I received. All right, gang. You saw it, you heard it, you know who told it to me, or at least which group was behind some of these words. Let me switch back to Andy Cam and I can give you my thoughts and we'll wrap things up. Okay, gang. So that was the feedback. Those were the photos. Those were the people organizing it. Thanks again, Magnum and Lensculture, for this fine photo competition. Little gutted I didn't win. I'm just going to get that out of the way. The point wasn't victory, but it would be kind of nice if I had made it into the top echelons. I don't enter photo competitions much, so I guess if you wait over a decade before entering and don't win, it's going to hurt a little extra. Wow, I didn't win. Okay, I'm over it. That's right. Let's move on. Okay, gang. Well, for the feedback itself, I think overall it was pretty good feedback. I got some thoughts that's definitely going to help me towards the next competition I enter or the next photo I look over, either for myself or others. I do have a couple of things that I'm not super pleased with this feedback, and I'm going to point it out partly because, some of you might be out there looking for feedback on your photos. Some of you might actually be giving feedback on your photos. And I'm just going to point out the things that I was a little disappointed about in this feedback, so that we can all look out for that for future. I think it's only fair to consider where it didn't go right. And don't get me wrong, this was definitely a good feedback, but I do take exception to a couple of things. And that, gang, is well, pretty straightforward and clean. Issue number one I have, I entered 7 photos and I only got feedback for 6. It's a small point, but in a way it's not. I paid for every entry. I was told I'd get feedback on every entry, and for a professional organization not be able to count them properly, or I don't know, just admit one for one reason or another, that kind of hurt on the get-go. I I I entered CompuMonk. It's an older photo. It is from a D70, so I know it's not all the latest, greatest megapixels, but frankly, it's a photo that served me well, either as display on my home or actual client purchases on that shot, so I felt it was a pretty strong one. And I guess if anything, I'm just kind of disappointed that I paid for 7 and I got 6. No mention of why not or what have you. So just to get that out of the way, like I said, I don't want to be overly picky or anything here, but guys, come on. You're gonna give feedback on photos, do it on all the photos, especially if we paid our cold hard cash. Sorry, just saying. Hey, come on. All right, I've said that. Now let me just get my other point out, and then we're going to bring it up and do some happy before we get out of here. That, gang, is just something that I've noticed with a lot of photo feedback, and it was a little surprising to see here, but I guess, hey, it's all over the place. I can't be too shocked. And that's just the fact that the 3 or 4 photos that the reviewer loved, that they said were fascinating or captivating, and didn't really have anything to point out bad about the photos. Well, let me just say, and again, I've seen this with so many photo reviews, so it's something to look out for, either when you're getting feedback or giving feedback. Mr. or Mrs. Mystery Reviewer, if those photos were so fantastic and you have nothing bad to say about them, I'd really love to know why they didn't make the final cut for the competition. Why aren't they in the finalist circles, judges' consideration, what have you, maybe even in the final winner's circle? I'm not saying my shots automatically deserve to be there, far from it. I was more than ready to push aside any hopes of victory, just more towards the feedback side of things. But frankly, if all you're going to do is praise my 3 photos, like in this case, the Reaching Indians, the Jordanian guards with the lady and the cell phone, or the little old Croatian lady over at the market stall there, you loved those shots. You said a lot of good about them, and that certainly helps me along. But frankly, if you're not going to point out what's wrong with them and why they don't make the final cut to your competition, I'm kind of wondering what happened and why didn't they make the final cut of the competition. So that was a little bit disappointing on that side of things. But having said that, guys, I've seen a lot. As much as I like to dwell on the positive when I give you feedback on your photos, I also, I think, as you know, tell you what doesn't work in the photo. So maybe just something to think about later there, Magnum and Lenswork and Anonymous Reviewer and the rest of us who take or give photo feedback. Don't be afraid to be a little bit harsh. Even if it is one of the top shots that you've ever seen, you can tell the photographer is putting out something pretty precious there as far as how they feel about their photography. Well, if they're in the feedback ring, that's all part of the process. You can yell, scream, you can do whatever you want. I myself prefer a bit of positivity and, honesty without yelling and screaming and being rude. But if you're going to admit why it doesn't make the final cut or what issues that stop that 9 from being a 10, well, to be honest, you're kind of wasting my time, because as much as I believe positive reinforcement is a good thing, and certainly something I encourage to all those giving feedback. You also got to give out why it didn't make that final cut. So that, and completely forgetting or ignoring one of my photos towards the paid feedback that I expected as part of my purchase at the end of the day. Not so great stuff to see when I got that email saying your feedback is ready. On the other side of things, though, I could have started positive and then left a negative. I've gone negative and now I'm leaving a positive. Gang, there was a lot of good in that feedback. There were some honest words for the photos that didn't work for the reviewer and why they didn't work, so that certainly helped. Like I spoke about, well, like I mentioned when I read it out, just looking at the screen there and forgetting you can't see it, but the photo of the dog and his neighbor that the reviewer really liked, but they pointed out that the colors were a bit too harsh, so that was certainly helpful. That kind of feedback, as well as, you know, what didn't work on the other photos. The King of Belgium, for example, felt a little bit general, and I can agree. Actually, as soon as I hit the submission button, I realized I should have submitted another. But, you know, whether it was that, whether it was the prayers, the Tibetan ladies giving prayers during the funeral, well, it was good to find out their perspective on why. So, yeah, that's the feedback I received recently. That's my thoughts on it. I guess that's all there is to say for this here video. I hope this was helpful, gang. If it was, please let me know in the comments, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. Find me as Andy McPhoto or Photo Tour Bruges, and don't be shy to leave me a comment. At the same time, don't be shy to hit the subscribe button if you are here on YouTube. It always is appreciated, and it'll keep you up to date on the next of these occasional videos that I stumble and stutter at there. And next to that, obviously, feel free to check out my website, www.andymcsweeney.com, or you can join me in person as Photo Tour Bruges for details on that, and a little bit more. You can cruise on over to www.phototourbruges.com. All right, I'm Andy McSweeney. I'm out of here. Like I like to insinuate at the end of these little chats we have, it's enough listening to me, so go out there and take some photos. It's a beautiful day. Turn off the screen. Go, go. Make some memories. Do it. Live. Yes.